and welcome to Passion Projects. I have one of my best friends in the entire world with me today, Virginia, and we're going to talk about her nonprofit called OCCRA, which is OCCRA. And I want you to tell us all about OCCRA and the amazing things you're doing. But first, I want to give everyone a little bit of background about you because you do a lot. You're 911 dispatcher, animal rescuer, vegan, like just amazing all-around person. I know that sounds corny, but I could say this from the bottom of my heart. I used to live with her, and she is like the best roommate ever. So
same.
Yeah, we have stories that we can't talk about on camera. So actually I want you to kind of tell me, so did you always have a passion for animals, like even as a little kid?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it started with like ocean life and wanting to save the whales and things like that. But I think there was just sort of a switch when I was about 10 or so, and I went vegetarian at that point because I realized what I was eating. You know, we don't really get it until all of a sudden somebody tells us what that is. And so from then on, it's always just been a big part of my life, but
So from 10 so at 10 you became a vegetarian?
Yep. Oh. Yeah, I turned vegetarian at 10. I'm sure there were holidays or moments or times where, I still ate, or on games, travels, things like that, when we'd stop by McDonald's. It took me a while to really get a hold of it and make it a lifestyle. And that was the same when I went vegan. There's sort of that window of the gray area where you still eat some cheese or you still eat some, but I really at 10 is when I stopped eating red meat, and just all meat. But I was still doing dairy and eggs and fish and all that. Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, I know this is going to sound really ignorant. So vegetarian is just no meat. Vegan is no meat and no animal byproducts.
Yes. Yeah. So I was still eating fish when I went vegetarian. So that might not be considered vegetarian. That wouldn't be considered vegetarian to me now. But at the time I thought myself as a vegetarian. So it'd be more of a pescatarian. I don't think I even knew what that word meant at that age.
No, it sounds like a religion.
Yes, that's right. I suppose it is in a way to some people, but yeah, no byproducts of any animals for vegans. And then I don't, in the last, I don't know, 5 or 10 years, I don't buy leather wear down or, if I take pills, there's no gelatin in it. I mean, and I try and buy all cruelty free. I mean, there's so many, it extends to so many different things, not just food. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying my best, to it's hard to find good country cowgirl boots that aren't leather, by the way. That's been the hardest part.
I remember the ones that you bought, and they were
I go through them a lot quicker because they don't last as long. There are some better ones, but they're really expensive that are made out of mushrooms or something, but I'll just yeah. Have you seen that mushroom leather? Yeah. Yeah, I think.
No, I didn't even know there was such a thing.
Oh, yeah. I think eventually it'll be easier to find non-animal product clothing. It gets easier all the time. But
like you were saying before we started the interview, that because we live in the Pacific Northwest, and here there's so many options, vegan options. I mean, I see it in the store, I'm always like, oh my gosh. And I feel like the aisles get bigger and bigger, the grocery aisles, which I know I mean, ideally, we want to get away from the grocery stores and keep with our farmers markets and our local. But when you do go to the grocery store, at least you have options. So
yeah, it's convenient to have packaged foods available that are vegan because everybody gets in a hurry. I try and be plant-based as much as possible, but I definitely love, some of my alternative cheeses and meats and things like that. But we are lucky here. It's everywhere. It's a really easy place to be plant-based. That's for sure. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. And that's the one thing oh gosh, I love my cheese. It would be like, I have to give up cheese.
Yeah.
But I'm slowly.
It's really delicious. That was the hardest thing. Absolutely. Fake cheeses have come a long way. There's some pretty good ones. In the beginning, it was a mess, but there's some really good ones now. But still, I mean, I struggle. When we went to Italy, that was very difficult.
Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine. What did you eat most of the time?
Pasta, just all sorts of pasta with no butter and then
Oh, butter. I forgot about butter.
There's some great non-animal product butters too. So
no, just a plethora.
Yes.
So from that, okay, so like when I lived with you, there was it was a small farm at Virginia's house, and I would walk in some days and there was a duck in my bathtub. Remember that? But were you always kind of finding stray animals when you were a kid too?
I don't really think that started until my 30s, really. And we always had dogs. We always, we never went to breeders. We always adopted dogs. I take that back. My folks did go to a few breeders because we had little miniature dachshunds growing up. But at one point, we realized one of the breeders was not treating the animals well. And I think that was kind of that moment where I realized breeders are, breeding at its bad places. And then we started sort of doing more adoptions and rescuing. But I didn't have my own animal until Maggie, my little lab basset. And I think I was 27 when I got Maggie, and she was, the saddest dog at the shelter. And my sister actually adopted her, and then I took her from Alicia. And I just didn't have any property before my own house. I was living in an apartment, so I don't think I really had the room to take in animals. Also, who does have the money? I definitely didn't have the money or the time, which I still don't, but I can manage it better now. And
plus there's like never the right, we always think, oh, it'll be this, the right time will be when I'm here or when I'm here. Well, it's just like, it's never really the right time. It's just the time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's always sort of a last minute, like this, like with Kevin and Butters, like the ducks, they needed a home right then or they were going to get rid of them. And so we made it happen. And then you ask friends to help, or you make it work. And and then of course, now that I have more space, more animals, and I think we're at full capacity now, but I say that every time. Yeah.
Okay. So right now you have 2 llamas or 1?
2.
So 2 llamas, 2 pigs, 2 ducks?
4 ducks.
Oh, 4 ducks.
Yeah.
What else?
Bunch of chickens. And then we have 3 goats now because we just took in
the goats.
Another rescue magpie. Yeah.
Okay. So as a side note, I just want to tell the viewers that when I lived with Virginia, there was the goats, the geese or ducks, chickens, and the kids in the neighborhood would love to come to Virginia's house. It was also known as the Blue Button because it was this adorable blue house. And the kids would come and feed the animals, and she'd always put out vegetables and pumpkins during Halloween. It was really, really, really
I
so
miss that.
I know. It was so cute.
Yeah.
You're starting you have another Blue Button now.
Yeah, we're even going to paint the house blue, so it'll be officially a Blue Button. But we've got about 2 acres here, and no, we live more out in the country, so the kids, there's not a lot of kids in the neighborhood or I think here I'm not in a suburb, so the kids, it's just a goat. They aren't fascinated by farm animals because they're everywhere out here. Yeah. So the allure is gone, but that's okay because it keeps I think the animals were getting a little too many treats all the time backing the original Blue Button. So,
yeah, I think that I have a feeling that the kids will start coming because you exude this really bright light, like, and just this really loving energy. And I think that kids will just like, like the energy that you put out is so nice.
I hope so.
It is. So I want you to tell me, okay, so then I know you've done all kinds of things. I know you were a carpenter at one point, which is so cool. And then and right now you're currently a 911 dispatcher.
Yes.
So then, and how long have you been doing that?
10 years now. 10 years this year, yeah.
Okay, so then tell me how you segued from doing that, how OCCRA came about.
Well, it was a pretty, so after hours, when animal control sort of goes, after 1700, they're done for the night, right? And so I was working night shift for a long time. And so any sort of animal related calls that would come in, after animal control was done for the day, we wouldn't really have a resource for a lot of them. There is an after hours contractor with animal control. Okay. But there's a lot of calls they can't handle. Just catch all. Let me hold on.
Okay. She just wants to be part of the conversation.
Yeah, she wants permission up on the bench.
Oh, cute.
So injured squirrel or I'm trying to think. There are so many calls that would come in. Like, we had a bunch of roosters dropped off downtown Portland, and even just stray dogs that someone's got with them, but they need someone to take it to the shelter. All kinds of calls. So
I don't mean to interrupt, but when you say drop them off, where did they drop them off? Like the roosters?
Oh, so with the roosters, with that scenario, actually we went out with the Humane Society team and just built a little makeshift fortress around the roosters. And then in the morning, animal control went and got them. Oh. So that wasn't, that was just one of those examples of calls that's not really something the Humane Society tech team would normally go on, but it was a courtesy. So I wanted a program that could take those catch-all calls, a resource that we could have that citizens could use, that officers could use, that would just be a group of volunteers available for all of those calls where there's just not a good resource. Mm-hmm. So I wrote up a proposal for a program, and OCCRA's been the name from the beginning. And the city of Portland was doing little micro grants. And I applied for one of the grants and I got it. So it was several $1,000s, and I was able to buy a bunch of equipment, rescue gear, uniform items, and And from there, and it's been 5 or 6 years from there, OCCRA has been through many different transitions, because the legal boundaries, the transporting let's say a wild goose, transporting a domestic animal, there are so many kind of loopholes to get through. So just the last 5 or 6 years have been meetings with Fish and Wildlife and animal control and all the surrounding counties and different agencies, and trying to kind of build that very specific needed program. And it's been a lot more difficult than I thought it would be. So, and we're going through another big transition again right now. But as it is right now, I'll get calls sometimes after hours. So at 911, if there's a call after hours that there's no resource for, they'll give me a call, or they can also call the Humane Society team to see if it's something we can go on. So there was an injured owl I took down to Dub Lewis not too long ago. So right now it's just me, so that and as the program sort of going through its transitions, because I don't want it to stop, but there is a need for it. But I've learned so much. It's so much more complicated than I originally thought it would be.
Oh my gosh. I know. And then just so everyone is aware, so OCCRA is spelled OCCRA, and it stands for On-Call Community Rescue Animals.
For animals. Yeah.
Did I say that right?
Yeah, there's a little 4 between On-Call Community Rescue for animals.
Oh, 4. Okay.
4 is not part of the acronym. Yeah.
Okay. And then like I was talking to you earlier, I know you're in transition right now. And so I will have a link below. The link is actually friendsofportlandfire.org. And when you click on that link, there will be a link for OCCRA on that, right?
Yeah, there's a top there. Friends of Portland Fire has about 5 or 6 different programs within it. And OCCRA is one of them. So that'll be at the top. And you can click on that.
Okay. And Virginia will be looking for volunteers, not quite yet, but if there's somebody interested that maybe wants to be a volunteer down the road, can they contact you and let you know?
Absolutely, yeah. My email address is on that webpage. Again, that webpage sort of is in construction, but you could also leave my email on this video if you wanted.
So if somebody has let's say I wanted to volunteer and I was like, okay, I love chickens.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of afraid, and I'm just throwing this out there. This isn't really me, but I don't like dealing with larger wildlife.
Mm-hmm.
Can you customize it for somebody? Like, this person is cool with chickens and smaller animals, but they don't want to do the larger stuff.
Yeah. So eventually, what it will look like is we use a program right now called Slack. It's just an app. And so when calls come in, we post, hey, we've got, let's say there was an injured bald eagle a few weeks ago. We've got an injured bald eagle. Somebody needs to get it down to Dub Lewis. And, I've got raptor gloves. I know a couple other people with them, but hey, it's a risk. And even though people are filling out their volunteer waivers, there's still always a risk anytime, which is another issue with this. Of course, you're dealing with injured, angry, upset animals of all sizes. So if someone's not comfortable, they would just not volunteer to go on that call. So absolutely not a problem. There's things like the admin side of everything that it's stuff really not above my pay grade. That's the wrong phrase, but QuickBooks, my brain will explode. I can't, switching to my own nonprofit, moving out of Friends of Portland Fire and Rescue, which they've been wonderful, but I have to move to my own nonprofit to do the things we want to do. And I'm not good at the admin stuff. So I've really had to go outside of my comfortable zone and do things that make my brain hurt. But so having someone who's, accountants, or someone who loves making spreadsheets, or who loves writing grants or applying for grants, or who, can get us put our wish list together. I mean, there are so many opportunities. And that's coming. I've just got to get out of this transition, and then really I'll start opening up those opportunities.
And is this just for the Pacific Northwest area? Like, what's the region?
Yeah, I think right now we're just going to keep it in Multnomah County, just because that's where I dispatch. That's where the whole idea kind of came from, was within Multnomah County. Clark County has another resource. Clackamas County is struggling a bit with some things, so we would help them out as things came up, and maybe expand at some point. But to make it doable in the beginning, I've got to keep it just to the one county for now. If it works and it's successful and it's growing at the right, and it's then hopefully we'll expand. But I'll get too ahead of myself if I start thinking that.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot. And I always remember sometimes, when we were living in the same house, and you would text me and be like, oh, I got a call. It was like 11 at night, and you had to go help frogs cross the street.
Oh, yeah, that's the
frogs to get over.
That is another. I would love to plug that rescue. That is called the Harborton Frog Rescue. They always need volunteers. It was started by an amazing wildlife biologist, and so they just take volunteers on shifts and go out there and help them cross, 7 lanes of traffic. It's amazing. And I wish I could still do it, but I'm so far from it. But who knew that we need frog Ubers,
No.
But so Harborton Frog Rescue, check it out. What a cool group. Yeah.
And, I also want to mention, I know, this is kind of not really off subject, but, you have a friend. I mean, she's my acquaintance, but I think she's worth mentioning. Wendy from Odd Man Inn.
Yes.
Right? Okay. So, and that's somebody, just so viewers know, that Virginia has adopted animals from Wendy's rescue, because she has her own rescue, Odd Man Inn. And I thought maybe I could bring up that website too, just because I know you guys used to work together so much, and you did so much for them. I know Wendy's amazing. I mean, she's amazing too.
They're incredible people. Yeah. I didn't volunteer up there as much as I wanted to, but a lot of the animals are from them, but they're growing too. They're going through a big exciting change right now, but their sanctuary, all of the animals are up for adoption, which is great, because then they can keep rescuing more in the hardest cases. And the rehab of those hardest rescues, the ones that, need a ton of medical treatment. I mean, it can be tens of thousands of dollars sometimes. It's so, for them to get animals back to where they need to be, where they're maintainable, where someone else can take care of them, they're doing the hard stuff, right? So we're able to provide a space, and of course medical things still come up, but what Wendy and Josh are doing is it's amazing, and there's not many places around the country that do that, and they literally have committed their lives to the animals. Everything is for them, every moment. So that's a big inspiration. I don't know if I could ever fully, do what they do. I mean, I'm so busy. I don't have any really days get to take trips or anything like that. But still, when I compare it to what they have going on, they have made the biggest sacrifice just to provide sanctuary for animals. It's wonderful. It makes my heart explode. They're amazing.
Oh, you guys, I mean, it's amazing what they do and what I see you do, and it's like the animals are so grateful. Like, thank you for people like you.
But they make us feel good though, right? Too. I mean, how great coming home and having the pigs come running up to you wanting pet food. You can have a bad day at work and they just, just seeing their interactions with one another and how when they trust you, remember Lulu was one of the goats we have, and she was so afraid of people. And after like 2 or 3 weeks, she came up to me and put her head next to me. And it was like the biggest, just for them to trust you and give you their trust and love is the greatest compliment. It's more than any other human could give us, right? For them to say, I trust you. And I know that you're not going to hurt me like I was hurt before.
Yeah.
I would, it keeps me focused.
Yeah.
I think
But that's where your energy, I mean, you exude that energy. So it's kind of like that movie Ace Ventura, when you put out his arm.
Come to me, my jungle.
That's kind of you. So it's like, it really is. I mean, I still am amazed how much how much you're building, what you're creating. And that's why I want to get the word out, because I think what you're doing is amazing. And it's something that I wouldn't have thought of that, like when you see a wild dog running down the street, like, who do you call? I mean, so you're providing something of service for these animals that maybe in the past would just get picked up and sent to euthanasia. So it's like you're really providing an amazing service. So before we end, I want you to tell me, because I know you have so many stories, like animal stories, but is there one rescue story that sticks in your mind that was like really just funny, or just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm doing this?
Oh gosh. Probably the funniest ones, are cats trapped in confined spaces. So, and that's what the other team I'm on with the Humane Society. We do technical animal rescue, but there's a lot of animals in confined spaces, and cats. I don't know how they get to where they've gotten, but there was this one cat that we went out, I think 4 different times, and we were in every crawl space, every attic space. We had all the mirrors and all the, every piece of equipment to try and figure out. And we thought we got it down to the right wall. And we're like, it's in this wall. It's right here in this wall. It wasn't in that wall. So we ended up, we were like telling the owners it wasn't their cat, and they didn't like cats at all. So they were like, get this cat out of my wall. It's been here for 2 weeks crying. And so we ended up we just said, okay, well, can we cut a hole in your wall? And they said, sure. So it was a beautiful house. And we just went in, we just cut a big old hole right in their wall in their living room, put the trap there. One of the other volunteers, she went up inside and almost got trapped, trying to fit up into the attic to see, because this cat was jumping up from the attic down into the stud bay somehow. So we're like, well, this is it. This has got to be it. So we leave the trap overnight. We set up our whole little system. Sure enough, they called the next morning, said it's in the trap. We get the cat, and it matched an ad on a telephone pole right down the road for a missing cat. So when their cat had been in this wall for 2 weeks, lost a bunch of weight, but was totally fine. That's how long cats can live. I don't know where it was getting water, but after we had to laugh because we ended up just ripping the wall out. So that's not very classy, but we had to do it. There was no other way.
How did the cat get in there?
I have no idea, because that's the other thing. Usually the first thing we check all the vents, all the crawl spaces. Usually maybe there's a hole in the bird blocking or something up into the soffit. So we figured we couldn't find any holes anywhere. So we're not sure. Maybe it ran into the garage and the, hatch to attic was open, but we were, that one was really stumping us. And it just makes me laugh. I have pictures of the volunteer fit up into, we call her the grease man. Everybody needs a grease man. So, and most calls are either really great or really sad, but it's nice to be able to laugh at some of them too, because animals are weird and they get in trouble.
Well, they're like, I want to say they're like people, but they're not. But each one of them has its own personality, its own quirks. But that we'll have to do like a show one day just where you're talking about all your stories. Because I used to love hearing some of the stories. It's like, oh my God, are you kidding me?
Yeah. Between 911 and Mike's fire station was obviously, my sweetie Mike, they just rescued a dog that got stuck in a chain link fence, and the owner said that it'd seen a squirrel. So it just ran full speed and got stuck. So the fire department went out and cut the dog out of the fence, and then, so sometimes the fire department goes, which is great. And then, so hopefully this nonprofit is it'll be for the leftovers, the leftover calls. Also, hey, if anybody sees this video and is good with the law stuff, I've been in touch with the Animal Legal Defense Fund and animal law folks and had a lot of advisors there. But there's still some really small print, tricky stuff that we just need to make it work and protect ourselves, because there's a lot of agencies and nonprofits out there that are doing this and that do it in emergencies but they're not protected legally to do it. And that's why mine is taking so long, is I don't want to do it the wrong way. And I don't want anyone to get sued or hurt and not be protected. So that's part of my paranoid dispatcher thing too. I'm just
that's smart. That's actually really smart. But I will also put a little blurb, but and so I would love to do this again with you, and we'll follow OCCRA and see how it progresses and how it transitions, and then once the website's up and running, or the one you're building. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, like I said, I'll provide the website now, and if anyone wants to contact me to get in touch with you, if maybe there is a lawyer or somebody out there, I'll definitely let you know. But I am so grateful. Thank you. I know this is like one of the busiest people on the planet. In Virginia. So I am so grateful. Thank you so much for
I love you. Good to see you.
I love you, my sister friend. You are beautiful, inside and out. I adore you, and we will definitely continue this conversation.
Thanks for making the time for me, Mary. I really appreciate that. I love what you're doing. You are very inspiring. You have been from the day I met you, and everything you touch has love on it, and it's you're this is really cool, and I love watching your videos. I can't wait to see who you interview, and so thanks for I feel like my life is kind of boring, but I hope this is exciting for
no way. No way. You have the best stories.
Boring in a good way. So I'll reach out to you when we're switched to our own nonprofit and we're moving forward so that there's more clear opportunities for people too. I love you.
I love you, and thank you, everyone. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and share. Get the word out there about OCCRA, and we will see you soon. Love you.
I love you.